In recent developments on The Young and the Restless, one of the most quietly devastating conflicts is not happening in boardrooms or hidden locations where hostages are kept. Instead, it is unfolding inside the conscience of Michael Baldwin. For years, Michael has lived in the uneasy space between loyalty and morality, serving as the legal protector of Victor Newman while maintaining genuine friendships with people Victor often treats as enemies. Now that balance is beginning to crack in a way that feels impossible to ignore, because this time the victim is Jack Abbott. Everyone who has spent time in Genoa City knows Victor can be ruthless. That reputation has been part of his identity for decades. But even by Victor's standards, the latest move feels extreme. Kidnapping Jack and using him as leverage in a corporate war crosses a line that many people around him once believed he would never truly cross. Victor demanded that Chancellor be returned to him within 24 hours, turning the disappearance of Jack into a bargaining chip in yet another power struggle. For Victor, it is simply strategy. For everyone else, it feels dangerously close to something darker. Some people in town are still trying to convince themselves the situation is not as serious as it appears. Victor previously kidnapped Lily Winters and her twins in a move that many suspected was more theatrical than threatening. The assumption was that Lily was never truly in danger and may even have been cooperating in some way. That explanation allowed many characters to maintain the comforting belief that Victor's schemes still followed certain boundaries. But Jack's disappearance is different. Victor has never hidden the depth of his hatred for Jack, and the history between them is filled with moments where that rivalry turned brutally personal. Because of that history, the people who care about Jack cannot dismiss this situation as another dramatic stunt. They know exactly how far Victor has gone in the past, and that knowledge makes the silence surrounding Jack's fate unbearable. This is where Michael's role becomes painfully complicated. As Victor's longtime attorney and confidant, Michael has defended the man through countless legal storms. Their relationship is built on years of mutual trust, favors exchanged, and battles fought side by side. Victor has often treated Michael less like an employee and more like a member of his inner circle. Yet Michael is also someone who understands Jack and the Abbott family on a deeply personal level. He has shared moments of respect and even friendship with Diane Jenkins Abbott, and that connection now places him directly in the middle of an impossible moral dilemma. If Michael learns where Jack is being held, what does he do with that knowledge? Does he remain loyal to Victor, protecting the man who has trusted him for years? Or does he break that loyalty to save someone who may be in real danger? For Jack's loved ones, Michael may represent the only realistic hope. While others argue with Victor or attempt to outmaneuver him through corporate strategy, Michael exists close enough to the center of Victor's world to notice the details others miss. If anyone could quietly discover the truth about Jack's location, it would be him. The question is not whether Michael is capable of uncovering that information. The real question is whether he would be willing to reveal it once he does. Complicating matters further is the strange twist involving Phyllis Summers. At the moment, she holds control of Chancellor, which theoretically undermines Victor's ability to pressure the Abbott family. Yet, Victor continues to demand that Billy Abbott surrender the company as if nothing has changed. That contradiction suggests that Victor's plan may be more complicated than anyone realizes. Perhaps the demand is not really about Chancellor at all. Perhaps Jack's captivity serves another purpose entirely, one that has not yet become clear. As the days pass without answers, Diane's anxiety grows more visible. She has fought too hard to rebuild her life with Jack to accept losing him now. What makes the situation even more painful is that she knows someone who might be able to help. Michael has always been one of the few people in Genoa City capable of navigating both sides of this endless war between Victor and the Abbott family. Diane understands that asking him for help could place him in an impossible position. Yet desperation has a way of pushing people toward choices they would normally avoid. At some point, it feels inevitable that Diane will go to him directly. When that moment comes, Michael will face a decision that could change everything. Because in the end, this story may not hinge on Victor's power or Billy's determination. It may hinge on something far more fragile, the conscience of a man who has spent years standing beside a powerful friend, suddenly forced to decide whether loyalty should matter more than doing what is right. And if Michael chooses the truth over silence, Jack Abbott might finally have a chance to come home. That is the question quietly echoing through Genoa City right now. Can Diane Jenkins Abbott truly turn to Michael Baldwin for help without destroying the fragile balance he has maintained for years? Because asking Michael for assistance is not a small favor. It is not a polite request between acquaintances. It is an invitation for him to step directly into the line of fire between the Abbott family and Victor Newman. And everyone in this town knows what happens to people who openly cross Victor. Michael has built his life on loyalty. Loyalty to Victor, loyalty to the Newman Empire, loyalty to the understanding that proximity to power requires silence at inconvenient moments. But he has also built his identity on something else, his belief that he is not a villain. He has always justified defending Victor by telling himself that there are lines even Victor would not cross. Now, those lines are blurred because this time the victim is Jack Abbott, and this does not feel like a corporate stunt or a temporary scare tactic. It feels real. And if Michael senses that it is real, that Jack is genuinely in danger, his silence becomes complicity. That is a heavy thing for a man like him to carry. But Michael is not alone in this decision. There is Lauren Fenmore Baldwin, and Lauren sees the world differently. She understands the cost of Victor's anger. She has watched him destroy enemies with frightening patience. Part of her may sympathize deeply with Jack and the Abbott family, especially knowing how terrified Diane must be. Yet another part of her will instinctively want to protect her husband first. Asking Michael to challenge Victor could put their family in danger professionally and personally. Lauren may very well urge caution, reminding Michael that Victor does not forgive betrayal. Or, and this is where things get interesting, Lauren might surprise us, she has always been strong-willed when it comes to moral clarity. If she becomes convinced that Jack is truly being held hostage, not merely manipulated, she could be the one pushing Michael toward the truth. She might tell him that loyalty means nothing if it requires him to abandon his conscience, that protecting Victor at all costs is not strength, it is fear. And Lauren has never wanted to live in fear of Victor Newman. If she pressures Michael to quietly investigate, to at least confirm Jack's location, that choice alone could shift the entire direction of this storyline. Because on the March 5 episode, the truth became impossible to ignore. Viewers saw exactly where Jack was. He woke up in a small aging room with brown wooden paneling that looked more like a cheap waterside lodge than a luxury prison. The space felt cramped, almost claustrophobic. There was something unsettling about the stillness. Then Jack moved toward a small window and looked outside, and all he saw was water. Endless water. No city lights, no skyline, just ocean in every direction. That image changed everything. This was not a staged disappearance. This was isolation. Jack was being held somewhere at sea. So what happens next in GC? If Michael begins digging quietly, checking financial transactions, security contracts, offshore rentals, he could easily stumble upon a clue pointing to a yacht or private vessel connected to Victor's network. The question is not whether Michael is capable of discovering it. He absolutely is. The real question is what he does once he knows. Does he mount a quiet rescue attempt himself? That seems unlikely for someone who prefers strategy over heroics. More plausibly, Michael could pass the information discreetly to the Abbott family, allowing Billy, Kyle, and Diane to act while maintaining plausible deniability. That option would allow Michael to help without openly declaring war on Victor. But secrets rarely stay buried in this town. If Victor discovers that Michael leaked even a fragment of information, the fallout would be seismic. Trust would shatter, alliances would shift, and Michael would have to accept that his long-standing position at Victor's side is over. Still, there is something poetic about the possibility that the man who has defended Victor through countless legal battles might be the one who finally draws a line. Jack is alone on open water, staring out at nothing but waves. Diane is pacing in fear. Billy is ready to explode. And somewhere in between stands Michael Baldwin, holding the one thing that might matter most right now, the truth.